Meghalaya. In fact, yesterday we had from NIT Kurukshetra. So we are having a number of speakers from NITs. We already had speakers from IITs and various consultants were there to speak on various topics of interest in the area of civil engineering, ranging from cement, concrete, and other areas. So just before going to this thing, let me just introduce the organization. All of you know about Ramco Cements, but then still some of the things that we are doing, especially with regard to the product front. As all of you know, that we are customizing cement for various applications. So what is important is that one must understand the type of concrete that is being used. Try to understand what is the grade of concrete, what is the slump retention required, what is the admixtures that is being used, how is it going to be transported, is there any specific property for concrete. Based on that only, I think one should go for the type of cement. And as all of us know, blended cements are good for durability, low heat of hydration, as compared to ordinary Portland cement. So we have the various types of cement: 43, 53, 43 grade infra, 53 grade infra. Infra is meant for longer slump retention time. Then we have the rapid hardening Portland cement for precast applications. Ramco Supercrete, which is specifically for concreting applications. Ramco Super Grade, Super Fine, Karthik Super Plus. Then we have the PSC cements for steel and Ramco Samudra. We have the SRC cement, the sulfate resistant Portland cement, the Ramco Super Coast. So these are some of the types of cements that we are manufacturing, 12 brands of cement. Then we also have the dry mix range of products, which is specifically used for non-structural applications. We have our dry mix plant at Sri Perumbudur in Chennai, and we manufacture dry mix products, which is in technical collaboration with MTech Germany. Of course, we have got a number of responses as far as Ramco Supercrete is concerned. Ramco Supercrete cement, because a specially formulated cement, which is giving high performance concrete, high compressive strength, and at the same time low heat of hydration, low lime leaching, and a better durable concrete is what you get. You get almost what we have received as response was that they are able to get the 28-day compressive strength of concrete within 7 days. So high compressive strength, high workability, because by virtue of being blended cement and as well as by virtue of having particle size distribution in cement, which is controlled, you get high workability, and of course you have the enhanced durability. So we have this important parameters in Ramco Supercrete cement itself, which is being used, and all this has been made possible because of our research and development center, the Ramco Research and Development Center, where we are doing number of works on concrete mix design, number of tests, and we have the latest evaluation instruments and equipments, ranging from XRD, XRF, and we have the various types of microscopes to study the characteristics of cement paste. That is very important because we need to understand what is the property of materials that is there, which is very important from an engineering perspective. Of course, we give a lot of emphasis on durability of concrete, for which we have the various instruments for checking the permeability of concrete, the rapid chloride penetration test, where the concrete specimen is kept, and based on the amount of charge that is passed, you get an idea of the durability of concrete. So these are some of the things that we have got, and we have also got the DIN standard water permeability test for checking the durability of concrete. Again, instead of rapid chloride, we have the water permeability that is also there. And of course, the theme is right product for right application, for which we need to understand the type of concrete that is being used. Various awards that Ramco Cements has received, of course, for leadership in point source and fugitive dust control, leadership in technology and energy efficiency, leadership in utilization of blending materials. So some of our customers, ranging from big names in the construction industry, where we have been able to give concrete, they have been able to make concrete for various exposure conditions and various concrete grades and various workability and various requirements. So that helps us to make a good quality cement. As far as today's speaker is concerned, Dr. Dibyendu Adak, who has joined us from NIT Meghalaya. He holds a ME and PhD in civil engineering from Jadavpur University, Kolkata, India. He is currently an assistant professor of civil engineering at National Institute of Technology, Meghalaya, Shillong, and he has over 5 years experience teaching research, professional and consultancy activities. He has published several scientific articles in international technical journals and conference proceedings in the field of concrete structures and concrete technology. And his main research interests are structural concrete materials, self-healing concrete, microbial concrete, high-performance concrete, recycled aggregate concrete, self-compacting concrete, geopolymer concrete. And Dr. Adak is also associated with national and international journals as a reviewer. He is also a member of ASCE and the associate member of Institute of Engineers. And with those remarks, let me again welcome Dr. Adak to this webinar so that he would be able to share some of his thoughts on a very interesting topic, in fact, antibacterial activity, which many of us would not be aware of it because we rarely think about those aspects. So this topic, I am sure that would be an eye opener for all of us as far as fly ash is concerned. So thank you so much, Dr. Adak. You can share your presentation and start off. I'm sure that you are also very busy with your classes and all that, so you can take your own time whenever you want to sign off, but we are sure that you would be able to give us a lot of insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for this welcome. Okay, I want to also thank that Ramco Cigarette Association to invite me for this technical session. This one is, I welcome all participants also for this technical session, and in this session I will be about the antibacterial activity of fly ash composite. And current scenario, as we all know, that we are dealing with that viral, not that bacteria. But during this pandemic situation, I hope everyone is safe and everyone is well. India, everyone is doing well. Okay. Now my topic is that antibacterial activity of fly ash-based geopolymer compound. And these are the content. First, I will discuss about the cement. This a little bit about the cement, as we all know that about the what is the cement and all these things. Then next topic will come that what are the problem using the conventional concrete. Then that what are the alternative solution. Then in that solution there is a one solution is fly ash-based geopolymer concrete. So I will again discuss about fly ash-based geopolymer concrete. Then I'll come to that antibacterial activity. As maximum people are on the civil engineering base. So initially I will discuss about the property of the bacteria which will affect due to the antibacterial because for cement what we test, we will test compressive strength, we will test flexural strength and split tensile strength. Similarly, to determine the antibacterial property, we have to know we have to gather certain amount of knowledge about the bacterial property. Then I will come to the topic, the antibacterial properties of this fly ash-based geopolymer concrete. So next slide, little bit about the concrete. As you know that the concrete comes from the Latin word concretas, that means grow together. As you know that the concrete is the mixture of coarse aggregate, fine aggregate, cement and water, and maximum cement content is 13% and water content is 20, and another portion will be the aggregate content, that may be fine aggregate or that may be coarse aggregate. So from this graph what we can see, cement is the main ingredient. They will make them together. They will allow them to come together, make a heterogeneous mix or make a concrete. So for this cement is the main thing. But thing is that if we due to the rapid urbanization, industrial growth, day by day, due to the development of country, requirement of cement is increasing due to all these development. So due to the rapid development of cement or rapid production of cement, we will face certain problems. These are the environmental impact for the preparation for the production of cement. So the first one is that we can see that in 2019 there is a Times of India news is there. Cement produce more pollution than all trucks in the world. Okay, and also another next one can see that they have told in 2012, they have told this one is from Columbia University, one draft is there. They told that by 2006 cement production is 2.55 billion ton, but that will be enhanced to 3.7 to 4.4 billion ton by 2050. But in recent report in 2017, what we can able to see, we have already achieved that value, which is more than 4.4 billion ton. So in 2017, that one is more that one we have achieved 4 million tons. So when 50 will come, we think that may be the 10 times or that may be the 20 times. That will cause the pollution. As we the China is the major producing country, so they are producing more amount of cement and also they are releasing more amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere for which is harmful for global warming. Other these are that environmental perspectives. Other than this, we can say that cement plant also emits this carbon dioxide that will causes the problem in the human health. So maximum problem will be there. There will be the respiratory system problem, respiratory system disorder, lung cancer, all these things over there. So to eliminate all these things, what we have to do, we have to find out another alternatives. And what will be the alternatives? Alternative will be maybe that we have to reduce the production of cement, and in place of that, we have to add certain amount of material which will give same strength, durability as far as the cement concrete whichever is provided. Now these solution may be these are that there is the solution need, and the solution also what we can take, we will take the material, the replacement of the cement which don't have any toxicity effect to the atmospheric environment. So we have to find an alternative that may be from the waste, that may be from we can reuse from anything, any material. We can also recycle any material that if possible we can use in the concrete. So to make that the better environment, so we have to reuse, reutilize all these material to prepare a concrete. So these are the some material we can last 20 decades there are a lot of research is going on. These are the material that maybe other than this there are also a lot of material is there that we can use for the replacement of the cement. And flies is the one of the major things that we have seen research developed. Three times initially there will be the replacement of 10%. Now we can replace up to 70%. Then another will come that steel plant waste product is that slag or rice ash from rice mill, red mud concrete, fiber reinforcement concrete, and in case of recycle, so recycle means we can use the recycle aggregate from the demolished structure or recycle paste. Okay, that if we can able to recycle, then there will be the no problem. There we will take the solve the environmental hazards. Okay, another one is the plastic. Plastic is that major pollution or major polluting agent in our country. So if we can use this one, we can reduce the reduce that the we can reduce the environmental pollution using the plastic. Also, we can reduce that the cement with using some plastic. That means indirectly we will reduce the production of cement. Next is that out of this there may be fly ash concrete, and 70% is the high volume fly ash concrete we can replace. Nowadays, we can replace more. These are under the research. Now, in fly ash concrete, using fly ash concrete, that my topic I will discuss about the geopolymer concrete. And what is this geopolymer concrete? In this concrete, what we will do, we will replace 100% cement with 100% cement with the fly ash and alkali activated solution. In place of water, we will use the alkali activated solution. So that what we can do, we can reduce the production of OPC, and otherwise we can reuse the fly ash, which is the industrial waste, which is the nowadays this one is a major problem in our country, that huge amount of fly ash is producing throughout the year. So we can use that fly ash also. We can use the fly ash also, and to reduce the toxicity effect of the fly ash from the environment. Now, in case of, as I discussed that, I will discuss about geopolymer technology. So, geopolymer is a polymerization technique. Okay, this will be polymerized in presence of that alkaline material and alumina and silica source material. And this geopolymerization is a polymerization chain that will produce the polymer chain of silica, alumina, and oxide. That may be one polymer, may be siloxo, that may be polymer chain of silica and oxygen. Another may be siloxo silate, then and sialate disiloxo. These are the polymeric chains. These polymeric chains are produced due to the alkali activation of the cement and the silica and alumina which are present in the fly ash. So these are the graphical representation that how this we can produce the geopolymer concrete. We can see fly ash will add the alkali activator solution, we will produce the geopolymer concrete mix. Now this is the major drawbacks of the geopolymer concrete was there, that we have to cure the geopolymer specimen to achieve proper strength and durability. So as the heat curing process is needed in the geopolymer concrete, so these may be the major drawbacks of the disadvantage of the geopolymer. If the heat curing is needed, we cannot apply in the as a structural element. Same concrete we will not able to use to prepare the structural element. So what we can use the study will be limited to the thickest concrete element only. But our aim is not that. We will focus the geopolymer concrete for as a replacement of normal cement concrete, and the strength and durability will be same as it is or more than the normal cement concrete. So to eliminate these are the proposed solution. Other than this, there are also a lot of solution is there. These are the proposed solution that we can take that to eliminate the heat activation from the geopolymerization process. One of the major thing is that addition of nanosilica. So nanoparticle, I have told you that geopolymerization is a polymerization process, and nanoparticle has the high specific surface area. So the addition of extra silica content over there, they will accelerate the polymerization process. So when they will the polymerization process, the amorphous compound which is present in the fly ash, they are very quickly or very rapidly transformed to the crystalline compound. Then this crystalline compound may be siloxosialate, disiloxosialate, and in presence of sodium hydroxide, sodium siloxaluminate. These are the different form maybe. Other than this, another solution is there. Geopolymer concrete, the technique is that normal conventional technique is that we will add the fly ash with alkali activated solution and fine aggregate or coarse aggregate over there. We will prepare the specimen, and then after heat activation we will get the stain. So if we modify that the process techniques, also we can prepare that the geopolymer concrete in the and in cured at ambient temperature. How we can modify? As we know that the alkali activation is done with that alkaline solution and fly ash. And fly ash is the main ingredient to initiate the polymerization process. So what we can do, we can make a mix in the fly ash and alkali activated solution, and we will treat that alkali activated solution and fly ash in an oven at 40 degrees centigrade for 1 hour or 30 minutes or 40 minutes. Okay. Then we add this that mixture of fly ash and alkali activated solution with coarse aggregate and fine aggregate to prepare a concrete. Then this concrete we don't need to go for the heat activation, because the activation already we have initiated at the starting phase. So other than this, if you add the ground granulated blast furnace slag, there is a calcium content is more. So calcium content, this alumina content also they will increase the setting time. So we can get the geopolymer concrete in normal temperature. Other than this, if we activate the fly ash in a ball mill, and if you reduce the fly ash size 1/10 of the normal conventional size, so these fly ash, as the size is very small, they have the higher rate of polymerization. Okay, these are the techniques are proposed for that to eliminate the heat activation process for the geopolymer concrete. Now I will come to that topic, that antibacterial activity of these fly ash-based geopolymer concrete. For this case, what I have taken that geopolymer concrete which is cured at ambient temperature with of nanosilica. Okay, so if we add nanosilica, also we can get the geopolymer concrete which is cured at ambient temperature. Now, before going to that antibacterial activity, I will focus sometimes on the about the bacteria. We know that the bacteria which are singular that we can call the coccus. These are the different bacteria. Types of bacteria have also have nucleoside at the center. These are the things which these are the on bacterial cell content. These are the things that will be one DNA, one nucleus, one nucleoside, and that may be circular shape, that may be rod shape, different shape over there. Now, other than this, we can also characterize the bacteria in terms of gram-positive and gram-negative. In 1884, Christian Gram, he has distinguished the bacteria by in terms of positive, gram-positive, another will be the gram-negative. So, in gram-positive bacteria, what we can able to see, there will be the cell membrane. Then there, after the cell membrane, there is the presence of peptidoglycan layer. Okay, then their internal structure of the DNA and all these things will be the gram-positive bacteria. But in case of gram-negative, there is the cell membrane, then peptidoglycan, then another addition is there. There will be the lipoprotein layer over there. So as we can see that more amount of layer is present in the gram-negative bacteria, so they are much more harmful. We cannot easily destroy their DNA because there is the outer peripheral layer is more. That after that peptidoglycan, there is a lipoprotein layer is there. So that's why what we can able to see in normal human life that for our normal people, what we can usually are faced with that cholera that is caused by the typhoid that is caused by Salmonella typhi. This is the gram-negative bacteria. So cannot easily our body cannot easily destroy these bacteria. We need some certain amount of antibiotics. Okay, those who have higher immunity system they can destroy, but for normal cases we need certain antibiotics to destroy these typhoid. Okay, so from the gram-negative and gram-positive bacteria, what we can see, gram-negative is lifespan of the gram-negative is more. They are much more resistant with respect to that your antibacterial drug. Now, in the in this world, there is a lot of gram-negative and gram-positive bacteria is present over there. Now, concern is that which type of gram-negative and gram-positive bacteria we will take for our antibacterial. We cannot study the number of bacteria. We cannot study 10 numbers of bacteria also. Because of that, that will take so much time. Some bacteria has the doubling rate. That means their generation rate is 1 year. That means after 1 year, they will double their family. Some bacteria, they have the doubling rate of 6 months. Then we have to wait for the 6 months to double their family. So for our study, what we have taken, we have chosen the two types of one gram-negative and one gram-positive bacteria. Gram-positive is that S. aureus and gram-negative is the normal one, E. coli. So why we have taken this one? Because of that, they had the generation time is about 16 to 18 minutes. Okay, that means within 16 to 18 minutes, they can double their family strength. So if their doubling rate is more, and if you are going to antibacterial study with this Staphylococcus aureus and E. coli, so what we can assume that these have we can easily destroy another bacteria which is gram-negative, but their doubling rate is more than this 16 to 18 minutes. Okay, these are that's why we have taken these Staphylococcus aureus and E. coli. And another thing is that these are the gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria. They have the maximum all types of characteristics which is needed, which is present in other gram-negative or gram-positive bacteria. Now, next is that for strain study, what we have seen that the concrete is weak in tension and compression is the concrete strength is more. So what we will study? We will study the compressive strain, we will study the flexural strain, we will study the split tensile strain, and for in case of durability, we will study the RCPT, we will study water absorption, sulfate test, all these things. Similarly, to determine the antibacterial activity, Other than this, there are a lot of studies there. But today I'm going to discuss only these three topics. Based on the, we will determine the antibacterial property of our concrete. One is that minimum inhibitory content, that we can say MIC. So what is this MIC? MIC is that minimum dose of the antibacterial agent or minimum dose of that antibacterial agent which will thus stop the growth of your bacteria. That means they will not able to increase their family. They will be stagnant if the cell content is 10 to the power 6 CFU per ml. Then if you add that antibiotics of that amount, let maybe 0.1 milligram per liter. If all that of the growth or family is the cell, the generation of the bacteria cell will be stopped in 0.1 millimeter, we can say that the MIC value is 0.1 millimeter per gram, milligram per liter. Another one is term is that MBC. MBC is that lowest concentration of the antibacterial agent which is required to achieve the bactericidal. Cidal means killing. That means the amount which is required to kill all the bacteria. In MIC, the amount required to stop their growth of their family. And MBC is that they will kill all the bacteria, the amount on which. Another one is that reactive oxygen species. This is the type of this is one type of unstable molecules that contain oxygen with the unpaired electron. And these unpaired electron reactive oxygen, they will react with the DNA and RNA and they will destroy the mitochondria cell. So by this process also they can kill the bacteria. So for the normal explanation, once again I have told that the MIC, what we can say, the minimum concentration we can able to see that after 4, then if you add more 8 milligram per gram, but after 4 that the growth of the bacteria is very much less. Here the growth of the bacteria is more. Similarly, in case of MBC, what we can able to see, the bacteria is present. If you add 0.1 milligram per liter, bacteria is more. Then if you increase the dose, then the bacteria content is become 5. 4 milligram per liter, microgram per liter, the bacterial, all the bacteria are destroyed over there. So we can see that this one is that MBC value. And MIC value, that from where the growth of the bacteria or generation or their development or that cell count will not be increased, that will be kept as it is. And reactive oxygen species also, as I told you, there will be the superoxide. These are the cation. These are the reactive ion, free radicals, which will initiate the destroy of the bacterial cell. That may be superoxide ion, oxygen with one unpaired electron. There may be hydrogen peroxide group with that. That may be also another. This will be hydrogen peroxide will be non-free radicals, and oxygen and hydroxyl group are that free radicals. They will kill the bacteria due to improve their oxidation rate. Now these are the some photographs of the how these bacteria will affect in our concrete on the concrete structure. So one of the major bacteria is there Acidobacillus thioxidant. What they will do? These are the we call that sulfide oxidizing bacteria. They will oxidize. They will increase that the sulfur dioxide SO2 content, and these sulfur dioxide they will convert the sulfur dioxide ion to H2S and H2SO4. And if the sulfur content is more and H2SO4 or sulfuric acid or sulfurous acid, if the content is more, they will attack to the gypsum, they will attack to the yttringite, and they can produce the yttringite monosulfate, yttringite disulfate. By that, they can destroy the concrete. So other than concrete also, for RCC structure, there will be the corrosion will be another that may be caused by the bacterial biofilm. Biofilm means some bacteria cell over there. How they will make the corrosion of the reinforcement bar? So what we can able to see in marine environment, there is a aerobic bacteria is lot of amount of aerobic bacteria present in the marine environment. So if they will deposit on that your reinforcement steel bar, if they will deposit in the huge amount due to their oxidation process or respiratory process, normal process, they will reduce the oxygen concentration on the patches zone where they have stable. They are stable. If the oxygen concentration is less, and then what will happen that the electron transfer will be more. This will give you the anodic action, and in the reinforcement bar in the marine environment, this will give the cathodic action. So electron transfer will start. If the electron transfer will start, then there will be the corrosion will initiate, and by this technique they can corrode the reinforcement bar within a 2 or 3 year, or that depends on the concentration of marine water, salt concentration or ion concentration. Okay, and these are the feasible, these bacterial cell, these are the based on study how these biofilm or the bacterial cell present in the corrosive zone. Now next is that other than these are the lot of bacteria, which are bacteria, not only bacteria, fungus also destroy our concrete structure, or bacteria, fungus, all these things which can reduce the service life of concrete. So these are the bacteria or fungus which are these are the tabulated over there. A lot of researchers they have reported that these are the harmful bacteria for our concrete structure. So and that this side figure will come with there, we can see that may be due to the corrosion, that may be due to the sulfur oxidizing, that the service life of the concrete will be reduced. Now, as we are the civil engineer, we will not concentrate only the antibacterial efficiency or antibacterial activity. We need certain concrete which will give the better strength, which will give the alternative of cement to our society. We will give that cement that will give the better strength, better durability. Then another criteria will be there that if that will give the better antibacterial property, so we will be benefited much more to increase the service life of the. Okay. So first, what we will do, we will study these that in the presentation content that first I will show you that strength property of the geopolymer concrete, then antibacterial property, and strength and durability, that compressive strength, there may be flexural, split tensile strength, and RCPT and sulfate test and corrosion test is also there. So these are the reagents which are used for the antibacterial study. So one is that normal fly ash, as I have told you, the study is based on the fly ash based geopolymer concrete. So fly ash is the basic element, and there will be the sand, alkali activator fluid, and this alkali activator fluid is that combination of sodium hydroxide and sodium silicate with colloidal nanosilica. And to compare this antibacterial activity of the geopolymer concrete, that ordinary pot mill cement mortar also has been prepared for the antibacterial study. And also, as I have told previously, that 1 gram negative and 1 gram positive bacteria has been used for the antibacterial study. Now, for this study, what we have developed, we have not I have not added these silver nanoparticle in the geopolymer concrete mix. What I have done, that we have prepared that the silver silica nanocomposite using the Hammers method. So how we have done, we have added that the 100 millimolar of colloidal nanosilica with 5 millimolar silver nitrate solution, and then in magnetic stirrer for 6 hours we will mix. Then the silver silica nanoparticle will be produced. As we know that silver is the negatively charged and positive charge, and SiO2 is the negatively charged. So using the Hammers method, we can prepare the silver silica nanocomposite. Now, why we have prepared the silver silica nanocomposite, I will discuss in the result portion. But in our study, what I have done, I have focused on the 3 types of geopolymer specimen, 2 types of geopolymer specimen and 1 conventional mortar specimen. So what are that? Geopolymer mortar, GXI mortar with the silica nanoparticles. Another one is the geopolymer mortar with silver silica nanoparticles, which we have prepared with the Stober method. And another one is the control cement mortar. Now here we can see that 6% of silver nanoparticle also we have used, and silicon nanoparticle we have also used the 6% content, that nanoparticle content. This is based on the research study, which is the 6% of nanosilica that will give the better strength of geopolymer concrete, which is cured at ambient temperature. So based on these three mix, first the study I will show you the result on the composite strength, flexural strength, RCBT value, then the antibacterial property. So antibacterial property is that this how we have studied. As we know that the concrete at the initial stage, the pH value of the concrete mix is near about 12 to 13. If the pH value at a high pH or at the early age of the structure, we cannot able to see the corrosion, we cannot able to see the any attack of the bacterial attack on the concrete. Because of that, these bacteria cannot able to survive in the high pH. So we have to wait for the long time until and unless the pH value will be less. But in lab scale, this will be time consuming. So what we have done, we have prepared the mortar specimen and placed in that a carbonic acid solution, 0.5 normal carbonic acid solution for the long duration until and unless the solution level pH become less than 9. Okay, and when the solution level, the pH of the solution is less than 9, we have taken the mortar specimen, then we have taken the mortar specimen, and we have studied the antibacterial property. Now, antibacterial property will be studied in that C4 method. One is the bacterial kinetic study. So, bacterial kinetic study is based on, there is a two method. One will be your variable plate count method, and another will be your spectrophotometric method. But in my study, I have done with the plate count method. So, in plate count method is the two types. One is the pure plate method, another is the normal plate, that spreading method. So in pure plate method, the technique is that you have to prepare, you have to add your antibacterial agent in the bacterial stock. Then you have in that agar plate, you have to put over there the stock, and you have to rotate these beaks at a certain RPM. Then what you can able to see, the colonies of this bacteria, they will spread. They will spread, and we can count one by one colony over there. And another one in spread technique, what we'll do, from one large stock, we'll take small amount of solution, contains the antibacterial agent and the bacterial cell. Then we spread on that agar plate and wait for that, maybe 1 or 2 hours. Then we count the number of colonies over there in that area. So MIC and MBC, that I've already discussed. The MIC is the minimum concentration required to stable their growth. MBC, minimum concentration required to destroy the bacteria. And reactive oxygen species is that hydroxyl ion or unpaired electron superoxide present over there. They will start oxidizing and kill the bacteria. And another one is the morphological study. Now we'll come to that. Whichever we have taken, what will be the result? First, what we have done, we have prepared the silver silicon nanocomposite. So from that figure above, what is in same image, we have confirmed whether we can able to prepare that the silver silicon nanocomposite using Stober method. So A shows that the image of the silica for nanosilica, and B shows that silver silica, and the black dotted are the silver particles present over the in the silica nano with the silica nanocomposite. Also from that EBS, you can able to see that the silver AG peak is over there. Similarly, this study is confirmed with the zeta potential method, also in the using the XRT method, and we have confirmed that the material is silver silica. The preparation of silver silica nanomaterial is done. Based on the that the 6% of your silver silica nanocomposite and silica nanocomposite, these are the composite strength study. So what we can able to see that after 28 days, that at normal environment curing time, that normal environment temperature cure geopolymer concrete, with silver silica and normal nano silica, they will give almost same type of strength, that is 43, near about 41 or 42 MPa. Similarly, what we can able to see, flexural strength is almost same, street tensile strength is almost similar, but they have the RCPT value is also same. So what we can say that there is not any harmful effect of the silver silica nanocomposite in the geopolymer mortar mix. So this geopolymer mortar mix will behave as it is if you add silver silica nanocomposite or if you add the silica nanocomposite. So next the study is then the study is focused on the silver silica nanocomposite. So this one is the strength portion is over. Now we will go for the antibacterial study. So in antibacterial study, what we have studied that mortality. First we have seen that agar plate. We have seen that this one is that A means the gram negative bacteria, B means A means gram positive bacteria agar plate cell, B is the gram negative bacteria with the agar plate cell. So these are that after 6 hours, after waiting the 6 hours, that the control cement mortar, the huge amount of live bacterial cell present over there. But the silica colored nanoparticle, silica geopolymer mortar, they have also huge number of live bacterial cell over there. But in case of silver silica nanocomposite, the bacterial cell count, this one will be the very less. Okay, similarly, gram negative also same type property we can able to see. And in the mortality curve, what we can able to see, that black one denotes that the silver silica nanocomposite based geopolymer mortar. So after 2 hours, what we can see, there will be around 80% of bacteria is killed in presence of the silver silica nanocomposite. But in case of, you can see that the colloidal nanosilica based geopolymer and control mortar, there is the bacteria killed up to that maybe 60% or 55%. Then we have to wait a long time for mortality to study the mortality curve. Next is that this MIC and MBC value is much more is that very much needed for this antibacterial study. Now in MIC value, what we can see for the E. coli gram negative bacteria, MIC value is 0.1 and A value is 0.15. Similarly, MBC value is there. Now from this MIC and MBC value, what we can say that the 0.1 milligram per liter, if you add that the silver silica geopolymer mortar in the bacterial stock, they can stop their growth. Similarly, if you add 0.38 milligram per liter, they will kill all the E. coli bacteria. So from this MIC MBC, what we can say that the silver silica nanocomposite treated cells are not more than 4 times of the MIC value. MBC value is not more than 4 times. So on that values, what we can report that our nanocomposite are bactericidal rather than bacteriostatic. What is this bactericidal? That I told you initially, that these silver silica nanocomposite, they will kill the bacteria, and bacteriostatic is there. As we from this graphical figure, you can see that we can make them stable. They are stable, their rapid growth. Killing that bacteria, bactericidal, they will kill the bacteria. Okay. So from this MIC and MBC study, we can say that our silver silica composite, they have much more capability to kill the bacteria. Not that they will stable their growth of the bacteria. Now these are the gram positive and gram negative bacterial study. Using ACM technique. First one is that your E. coli bacteria. These are G. coli bacteria with that our normal cement concrete mix. Then E. coli bacteria with that geopolymer silica mix, and E. coli bacteria with silver silica nanocomposite. And these are the present at the dead cell of E. coli. Similarly, S. aureus, in case of S. aureus, these are the black dotted are the live cell. In case of normal concrete, and in case of silica nanomaterial based concrete, or in case of silver silica nano based concrete, we can able to see the dead cell are present over there in ACM. So these are that ACM study. Also, this study has confirmed using the fluorescent microscopic test. So what we are doing in that test? we will determine the number of light cell in our stock, in our solution or in our mix. So to determine this, we will use that copydium iodine. These are the stain. This will be used. And what they will do, these are the lead fluorescent character. They will make the red color of this dead nucleus or dead cell. Okay, so from this figure, what we can able to see, this first one is the normal concrete, then second one is that your geopolymer or silica-based geopolymer concrete and silver silica-based geopolymer concrete. First one is E. coli, second one is A. Soria. So what we can able to see in case of silver silica nanocomposite, number of dead cell is more in case of both gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria. Similarly, that reactive oxygen species study, what we have seen, if you have that the oxidizing agent or free radical agent, superoxide ion or hydroxyl with that unpaired electron, what they will do, they are much more unstable, oxidize, or they will react with your bacterial DNA and mitochondria to make their stable to stable their unpaired electron, or to remove their to make their stability. They will take part the oxidization, and during that oxidization, they will destroy the DNA and mitochondria. So we can able to see that GMSI silver silica based geopolymer concrete, their reactive oxygen species is much more than that the control mortar and geopolymer mortar with the silica. And these are that DNA cell study. What we can see in the lane 3, this one is the silver silica based. This one is the E. coli with the treated with silver silica. That the DNA are, these are the spreaded DNA. That means the DNA is going to destroy or almost destroy. And finally, what we can conclude that what we have prepared the silver silica nanomaterial based composite. Main reason is that silver nanoparticle, they will destroy the amino acid. Okay, they will destroy the amino acid which is present in the bacteria, and during that silver nanoparticle, they will release the subsequent hydroxyl radical formation. They will produce the hydroxyl radical formation. Radical formation hydroxyl means they will destroy. They will take part of the reactive oxygen species study. They will take part of the reactive oxygen species. So they can easily, that the presence of silver nanoparticle, they easily destroy the bacteria. So finally, what I can say that from this proposed study, that the silver silica nanocomposite based geopolymer mortar, they will, as the highest base, they will almost 100% remove the utilization of cement, and these can compete with the normal conventional cement in terms of strength and durability. And more addition in the other addition is there. These geopolymer silver silica based geopolymer concrete, they will give better antibacterial property as well as strength than other type of concrete. Now these are my reference whichever I have used, and as these are the bacterial study, and that these are my guide and collaborator is there, Professor Chattopadhyay, Department of Physics and Biophysics, is the in charge of faculty, in charge of biophysics, the biophysics lab, and Professor Saraj Mandal of Jadavpur University. So as this one is the combination of bacterial study, microbacterial study, and all these things. So for only one single, not only for me, I cannot able to focus all these things. So these are the collaborator and my guide. They have helped me to understood the biotechnological all this impact on the concrete on antibacterial study. And finally, I want to thank everyone for their precious time. They have come to join us. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adak, for your presentation. In fact, in fact, it needs a lot of interdisciplinary study, I believe. That is the challenge.
Yes.
Because most of the civil engineers may not be having much knowledge about bacteria, so I think interdisciplinary study is the need of that. Yeah, that was very interesting. Thank you so much. I was told that you are busy with your classes, so we don't want to take much of your time. And in case of any questions, we'll just send you by email. So thank you for joining us and sharing your experiences with us. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for
So tomorrow at 11 a.m. again we have a topic on concrete for good construction by Dr. Gangadhar Ramtekar. Again, he's a professor and dean from NIT Raipur. We have got a lot of speakers from NIT. So thank you so much, Dr. Adak, for joining us.
Okay.
Thank
Welcome. Okay.
All the-
Welcome.
Please take care, and thanks all the participants for having joined us. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.